Thank you for tuning in to Coppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen. We're here with comic Courtney Fearrington. Courtney Fearrington, how the hell are you?
Pretty good, Brian. How are you, man?
Oh, good. Thanks so much for coming on, man. The world has gone to shit.
Yeah, hell in a handbasket. You got a couple of days left. I'm glad I can record a podcast before it's all over.
But one thing that's keeping me entertained in the meantime is your tweets. I follow you on Big C Comedy, and you really hit the nail on the head about, your tweets just really capture what we fucking want to do. We just kind of escape into stupid shit. You have some tweets about pizza bagels and changing from your work hoodie into your home hoodie and vice versa, and it's just fucking the escapist comedy I need.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's this weird line that I teeter every day. From it's from goofy to militant. I don't think there's no there's no in between. For some reason, it's either I wake up and I'm very militant or super goofy.
And when the world is so fucking militant, it's like, man, I really feel like some sweatpants right now.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that we're ever gonna get out of sweatpants. This is it. We've been ruined from jeans. We've been in quarantine for 90 days, depending on where you live.
That's fucking necessary bullshit, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, with cases spiking, from cities that open, I feel like people aren't going to put on jeans anymore, and I don't blame them.
They will not stand for jeans anymore. They'll be like,
No.
No, we're not going to fucking stand for that bullshit.
When offices open back up, I am going to be one of the ones that pushes for kind of just like, casual but professional sweatpants in the workplace.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, Courtney Fearrington is leading the fucking charge.
Yeah, man. You ever see someone a suit jacket, just like a nice blazer and a pair of track pants?
Dude, I love that, man. And what I like is that if they are going to make us come to the office and put us in danger like that, at least let us be comfortable while we get sick and die.
Thank you. That's all. That's all I need.
That's all I need. But I'm totally waiting for the Courtney Fearrington line of suit coat sweatpants, and I'll be the first to fucking sign up. But where have you been doing comedy in the meantime? Have you been doing any Zoom shows?
Yeah, been doing Zoom shows. I don't know what other comics are saying, but I'm going to go on record and go, Zoom shows are the worst.
Okay.
They're like the hardest thing that we can do for so many reasons. One, because the feedback isn't instant.
Yeah.
Two, because you have a close-up of everyone's face. That's something that you don't have when you're on a stage.
Yeah, who told Zoom that people wanted that shit?
Yeah, hey, zoom out just a little bit. Just give me...
Yeah, you're right. What the fuck, man? I guess it's a feature, not a bug, if it's in the name, right?
Yeah. So you're watching everyone's facial tics. You're watching people look down at their phones or be distracted, but from a very close perspective. And for me, it's distracting.
Yeah, and what do? They unmute at the end so you can hear clapping, and in between there, you got everybody muted so that nobody can chime in.
I've done some where people were unmuted, and I've done some where it was just the hosts unmuted, and you just have kind of like a back and forth with the host, which, I mean, I think that's better. This is technically a Zoom comedy show. Me and you.
Ah, there you go. But I mean, like, that's the last thing you want, like, to interact with the fucking host, right? I mean, at least it's something, but my lord, it's like you and the host are not buddies on every fucking Zoom show.
True, but I've only done Zoom shows of people who I'm friends with, so It made it a lot easier.
And so is there a better way? I mean, during quarantine, is there a better way, or do we just have to kind of wait till New York City opens back up?
I think there is a better way, and I mean, I'm not doing the thing that I'm preaching, but I'm just like, this is the best time to be your most creative and innovative. I mean, no pressure to do it if you can't, because there is the stress of the world on your back. But if you can do some fun stuff, some innovative stuff, some cool stuff, some writing, now's the time to do all of the things that you couldn't do because you were distracted by that drug of trying to be on stage. So if you can't do a Zoom show, I think there's other outlets. There's more outlets for us to explore as stand-ups. Which, if you can use this time wisely, man, the world's yours.
Dude, yeah, and I think I get that from some of your comedy. I think I saw your on your website you have a couple stand-up videos up there, and I took them both down. They were what value of a dollar. I think yeah, value of a dollar and the whole neighborhood thing. Where the fuck is it? Yeah, dangerous. I think it's called Dangerous Crowns and Value of a Dollar. Like,
Yeah.
what was it like, doing comedy in DC as opposed to New York City? And teach me about the value of a dollar because I thought that was pretty real and poignant.
Um, I think the comedy in DC for me was a bit different. It's just home and where you start.
Yeah,
Uh, so there's
because
like a level of
you're
comfort.
from there. Yeah,
Right, right. So there's a level of comfort with being uh, adventurous on stage, trying something, saying something cool. I put a lot of pressure on myself in New York, so the difference here is just like I always felt like I had to be uh, the best I could be, and
yeah.
then if I felt like I wasn't that, then I beat myself up, and then I also didn't leave myself room to kind of try new things and be fun and spontaneous up until recently.
And so you were more comfortable doing that in DC, but that will probably transfer over into your next New York City stage time.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to get comfortable in New York. So I've been here for about a little over 7 years. And those first couple of years were rough because it was just the transition, being big fish in a small pond to being bait, chum in the water.
Chum in the water. I fucking love that. At what point did you stop feeling like that you were chum in the water here?
I don't think that goes away.
Ah.
I don't think it goes. It's hard, man. It's hard. I think just because as a fan of comedy, as much as I am kind of a student and someone who wants to be good at it, it's hard to be out and see so many of my peers doing so many great things
Yeah,
on a nightly basis, and then come home and go, all right, well, be my own person, but also be great.
yeah. So it kind of drives you to higher heights, even though it fucking sucks in the meantime.
Yeah, and that's why they say New York City is the best place to go if you want to be a better comic because the pressure
Yeah.
is on.
See, well, let's hope it fucking opens back up. I mean, I talked to Bob Biggerstaff earlier today, and he's got a show coming up in Altoona, and I think I talked to John Marco Cerezi, and he said that he was at an open mic, but I thought it might have been on the bed of a truck. So I mean, there's little little opportunities to fucking do this shit, you know?
Yeah, and those things pop up, and like those are cool ways to just get around it, just being outside and talking
Yeah.
into a microphone.
Yeah, I mean, is there any way to yeah, so who books this block party? You know, is that something you're gonna be saying pretty soon? Like, how the fuck do you get up outside in New York City? I guess block parties.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was a couple of shows in Central Park, so I mean, if
Ah,
those come back, I think those people will be kind of fighting to get into there because where else can they go for the laugh that New York has been providing for all of
yeah.
these years?
Because if not, there's a lot of talent going around that's being wasted, man. If they can't fucking, if New York City doesn't have this pool of talent to make people laugh, I mean, they're really missing out. They really
Yeah.
got to open up at some point safely. And that Dave Chappelle special was a way to do that. Did you take down the recent Dave Chappelle thing where they were able to respect social distancing and take everybody's fever and shit?
Yeah, I mean, and that was pretty amazing. I felt like that was his backyard. That was probably his farm.
Oh yeah. All right. So I mean, what do you think of the special? I mean, it was, it wasn't as funny, of course, but it was nice to see it was nice to hear his 2 cents on the current issues.
I think it's another lane that Dave Chappelle is showing that he's
Yeah.
just a master in, and that is storytelling.
Yeah.
Uh, just the way that he set it up, that sounded just kind of like he was. It was just speaking freely and like ideas he wrote in a notebook, and like he actually had his notebook in his hand, but the way he tied it all together at the end, to some of the things he said at the beginning, and
Yeah.
it wasn't always chasing a laugh, but there were pops in there. It was just a beautiful story, and kind of like a kind of like something that you needed to hear that you didn't know you needed to hear. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I felt that way. And I mean, do you think that, that level of comfort on stage is something that you aspire to, given that you feel like chum half the time?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think that difference is being told that you're great ever since you were 19 years old.
Yeah, yeah, that's how you get comfortable, man. So go do that, Courtney Fearrington. Just go ahead and do that. Get yourself a show. Be feted at the White House, and you'll feel just as comfortable as Dave just did.
Yeah, man, I've been trying to write this Robin Hood Men in Tights for like the last 4 years, uh, just to catch up with Dave. Like a half baked part two.
And so, I mean, is any of the stuff like, I'm looking at your bio here and it looks like you had military parents. I mean, is that stuff, making its way into your act? And is that something that no other New York City comic can really talk about in much depth?
So a little bit. So the military parents, and then actually joining the military, does kind of bleed into my act just a little bit. Um, it's something that I played close to the chest for a long time, only
Yeah.
because my day job was working for the government.
Yeah.
So I kind of just didn't say much. But now I don't, and the jokes are coming.
Good. And so during quarantine, you could just fucking, use that time, like you said, to write like crazy. And you're now free to talk about, being in the Marines and coming from a military family.
Right, right.
And is that the
Yeah.
kind of, I mean, are you autobiographical on stage for the most part?
Yeah. As of recently, yeah. I mean, because I think that's the being here where everyone else is covering every topic.
Yeah.
One of the easiest ways to be original is just to be yourself and tell your
Yeah.
story.
And so, I mean, like, to the extent you've been able to talk about that on stage, what's getting the best response? Like, what persona? I suppose persona develops after, you and the crowd meet you halfway. You start finding out what they're laughing at, what they're not laughing at. Like, what's getting the best response on stage for you?
Right now, this thing of vulnerability.
Okay.
Um, because I was married for a decent amount of time and got married young. So I figured myself out. I figured out who I was sexually as an adult versus uh, as someone in their early 20s, late teens, mid 20s. Because
Uh-huh.
I spent most of my 20s married.
Uh-huh.
So I just had these some fun vulnerable moments on stage, just figuring shit out, and I think that that's been some positive feedback.
And so they buy the sex vulnerability.
Yeah, the sex vulnerability is what leads into the other stuff.
Okay.
I think if I can personally talk about those things in an open way, it kind of lets me let my guard down, and everyone else lets their guard down. So then when I talk about something, health, or just being my take on being black in society, uh, they trust where I'm coming from.
Oh, good. Good. Because they could connect with the insight that you have into the whole sex thing.
Right, right. So it's just like, oh, well, this guy just told us something personal, um, and we might have gone through it, and it's silly, and we just never said it out loud. And I mean, like, he's on stage, and he seems put together, and he's making fun of this thing. So like,
Yeah.
where I go from there is wherever I want to go, because I feel like a majority of the crowd is now on my side.
And without doing the material, what can you kind of teach me, who's kind of just a bizarro, I'm fucking alien to the whole sex thing. It's just fucking too close and weird for me. Like, what can what did you kind of learn, after you got out of the marriage? Like, what lessons could you teach somebody who's fucking freaked out by the whole thing?
I think one of the things I talk about the most is guys should talk about sex with their friends, like in an open and honest way. Like as much trash as we talk about what we do,
Yeah.
we're never vulnerable. We never talk about our losses. It's just like it's like Instagram, but with sex conversations. Like you only post the wins, you only post your best side
Yeah.
when you're talking to your friends. But like that's how I get into it, where it's just like, are you honest with your friends about the kind of sex that you're having? It would
Yeah.
make us better as just as dudes being in sexual situations if we knew things were normal, or if situations come up, or if we knew that we could talk to someone openly about it.
And so, I mean, at some point, did you start talking with your friends such that you knew it was a great idea and that it was helpful to you?
Yeah.
And
Uh,
yeah, kind of what gave you that idea? Like why did you start? What were some of the initial interactions like? And now you probably have a crew of friends who's comfortable talking about that sort of thing.
so my closest friends are just like people I've known since preteen, early teens, and then my other closest friends are all comics. So comics have no filters, and
Yeah. That's why I
knowing
love
people.
talking. That's why I'm talking to you guys, man. I want people who are open and honest, who are actually going to fucking meet me in some weird places as far as conversation. Like there's no pitch I throw that a comic doesn't hit out of the park,
Right.
or at least make contact with. Because
Try,
yeah, if
yeah.
it's not going to be funny, at least it's going to be interesting.
High batting averages, us comics.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And so, I mean, so you find yourself talking to the comics as well, kind of in a more, less locker room talk and more open and honest way.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I've grown a lot. Excuse me, I've grown a lot since living in New York City, and then like the friends that I've grown with here have just all been people that like when we stop being quote unquote on and like having that big comedy energy, you can
Yeah.
just say some real stuff too. Like, hey, had this weird thing last night, blah blah blah, and they're just like, that's crazy. But also, yeah, I get it. I get it.
But yeah, some other crazy shit happened to me. Let me tell you about it. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. One time I got stuck. Don't even know how that happened. You're like, okay.
One time it broke. I can't believe shit breaks. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's cool. So you talk about that on stage, and people with the, in the crowd are relating to that and maybe learning something from it. But it's also, like you said, a nice segue into your other stuff, now that they trust you a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, do you find yourself, because Zoom is so fucking weird, do you find yourself tailoring your set at all because it's so weird and you dislike it?
Yeah. And I think I tried to do a set. So out of all of the Zoom shows, I told myself one time I had written some new bits and I was gonna say them on Zoom, and it just went so poorly. And I was just like, wow, I've never bombed at home before. This is.
Uh,
I thought like bombing in your living room would be fine. You just close the laptop and turn on Netflix. But like, you at least if you bomb out, like you ride the train, and by the time you get home, you're like, all right, that's behind me.
yeah.
It's just
I'll,
like you
I'll get
bomb
I'll
at
get a
home.
new audience next time, right?
Exactly. You bomb at home. They're on the couch with you after you bomb. So it's just like
Uh,
it
and
just sits. It just sits in there like a heavy fog. It was
you're,
bad.
you're also imputing some negative ass memories to your, your living room furniture. Like, I
Ex-
hate this fucking couch. I bombed 13 times on this bitch.
exactly. There's no work life balance.
Oh, dude, I love that. It's some fucking bad juju. It's just like bad sex. At least, I hope you're actually talking about the bombing with your comic friends, because maybe they can help you feel better about that sort of thing, just like the sex talk.
Oh yeah, no. One of my closest friends, Shalewa Sharp, she's fucking amazing. As soon as I bombed, I texted her and I was just like, that went terribly. And she goes, "Nah, I was watching. It wasn't as bad as you thought, but."
Yeah. Yeah. It's never as bad as you think, but it's also never as good as you think either. So that's always, I think Barack Obama had something like that, never get too high, never get too low.
Right.
And I think my thing is like, never, it's never as bad or never as good. Just kind of stay even balanced. But yeah, it's like, how the fuck do you change, what happened such that you bombed, and how the fuck can you make sure it doesn't happen again?
Right. I
Yeah,
think
but is it
it's.
like, maybe don't do, I mean, was it just the Zoom format, or, the stuff you were trying was a little bit too risque and it made you get all freaked out at the people staring Zoomed heads?
I think it was just a Zoom format. I think it was just being new to that Zoom format, in a space where it's usually this. It's usually just me and someone else talking,
Yeah.
and if I'm on, I can conversationally make something funny. Uh, but just the format of being solo and trying to do bits in front of just some very close up faces of people who are. I mean, you're not going to be as attentive as you would be at a comedy show. So
Yeah.
the whole situation just threw me off.
Wow. Yeah. One of the ways that I was talking to Ralph Anthony about, one of the ways that you keep people present is by, kind of calling on them, doing crowd work. And that's something you can't even do. There's no risk of crowd work if, you're just one of these fucking big heads. I know
Right.
Courtney Fearrington isn't going to break up his set and start attacking me for petting my dog instead of listening.
Right. Exactly. Also, trying to do crowd work on Zoom and watch someone find the mute button so they can unmute themselves.
That's not happening.
No, nobody wants that.
Well, dude, I mean, we're gonna kind of, I'm going to follow your bigccomedy.com, your Big C Comedy on Twitter. Are you also Big C Comedy at Instagram?
I am, but I took taking a mental health break
Okay.
from Instagram. So
Oh,
no
good.
Instagram at the moment.
Okay.
But you can follow me on Twitter. There is a Facebook floating around there with my name on it. And actually, there is an Instagram account that you can go to. It is, there's two. One is Butterscotch Comedy in New York City, Butterscotch Comedy Brooklyn. That is a show that I run if it ever comes back. And the other is Thug Passion NYC, which is also another show slash, I guess, group series of group projects with me and Shalewa Sharp. So everything from weird lives to comedy shows to all types of crazy stuff.
Yeah, I see here. I see the Thug Passion NYC. Yeah, but in the mean, I'm also gonna, man, this Twitter thing. I love the Twitter thing because you really got your finger on the pulse of what kind of escapist shit I need.
Oh, do you like singing jingles? Oh
Dude, yeah.
man.
Well, anything about pizza bagels, man, and fucking, Popeye's chicken and the Whispers. You're talking about haircut, like, and you're talking about the Whispers band. I love all that shit.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad that it's not going unnoticed. My
Oh
my
yeah,
random my random outcries of goofiness.
yeah. I can't. I get. You do get a little bit. I mean, you are. You do stay on point. There's certain topical things on here, but it's just fucking all the people I follow, man. Everybody's got the social justice thing. I'm gonna go to
Yes.
Courtney Fearrington if I want to see some fucking escapist shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sandwiched in there. It's gonna be some gems from uh, the community and activism, but there's also going to be some very, very fun and goofy tweets in there. The
Because
goofiest
sometimes,
tweets get deleted. So if you're quick, you can actually see in screenshots some of the goofier things that I will post everything. Nothing
right,
goes to the drafts. Everything goes to the feed,
right.
and I might delete it.
But sometimes you wake up pissed off, and sometimes you wake up feeling silly.
Exactly.
To Courtney Fearrington, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it, Brian.